Letters to Dead Authors. Epistle to Mr. Alexander Pope. From mortal gratitude, decide my Pope, have wits immortal more to fear or hope. Wits toil and travail around the plant of fame, their work's its garden, and its growth their aim. Then commentators in unwildly dance, break down the barriers of the trim pleasance. Pursue the poet like Actaeon's hounds beyond the fences of his garden grounds. Rend from the seeming robes each borrowed gem, rend from the laureled brows the diadem, and if one rag of character they spare, comes the biographer and strips it bare. Such, Pope, has been thy fortune, such thy doom, swift the ghouls gathered at the poet's tomb, with dust of notes to clog each lordly line, Warburton, Wharton, Crocker, Bowles combine. Collecting cackle, Johnson consents to interview the drudges of your friends. Though still your Courthope holds your merits high, and still proclaims your poems poetry, biographers on Boswell-like have sneered, and dunces edit him whom dunces feared. They say, what say they? Not in vain you ask. To tell you what they say, behold my task. Methinks already I your tears survey, as I repeat the horrid things they say. Of the lock comes Ellen first, I fancy you'll agree, not frenzied Dennis smote so fell as he, for Ellen's introduction crabbed and dry, like Churchill's cudgel marked with lie and lie. In Mr. Hogwarth's caricatura, too dull to know what his own system meant, Pope yet was skilled new treasons to invent. A snake that puffed himself and stunned his friends, few lied so frequent for such little ends. His mind, like flesh inflamed, was raw and sore, and still, the more he writhed, he stunned the more. Oft in a quarrel, never in the right, his spirit sank when he was called to fight. Pope in the darkness, mining like a mole, forged on himself, as from himself he stole. And what for Carol once he feigned to feel, transferred in letters never sent to steal. Still he denied the letters he had writ, and still mistook indecency for wit. His very grammar, so Quincy cries, detains the reader, and at time defies. Elwyn's Pope. Fierce Ellen thus, no line escapes his rage, and furious footnotes growl neath every page. See Stephen next take up the woeful tale, prolong the preaching, and protract the wail. Some forge falsehoods from the north and south, but Pope lied from hand to mouth, affected hypocritical and vain, a book in breeches, and a fop in grain. A fox that found not the high cluster sour, the fanfaron of vice beyond its power. Pope yet possessed, the praise will make you start, mean, morbid, vain, he yet possessed a heart. And still we marvel at the man, and still admire his finish, and applaud his skill, though at the fabled Bork a phantom form, eternal strains, nor rounds the Cape of Storm. Even so Pope strove, nor ever crossed the line, that from the noble separates the fine. Poor Pope was always a hand-to-mouth liar. Pope by Leslie Stephen. The learned thus, and who can quite reply, reverse the judgment and retort the lie. You reap in armed hates that haunt your name, reap what you sowed, the dragon's teeth of fame. You could not write, and from envious time, expect the wreath that crowns the lofty rhyme. You still must fight, retreat, attack, defend, and oft to snatch a laurel, lose a friend. The pity of it, and the changing taste of changing time, leaves half your work a waste. My childhood fled your couplets' clarion tone, and sought for Homer and the prose of bone. Still through the dust of that dim prose appears the flight of arrows and the sheen of spears. Still we may trace that what hearts heroic feel, and hear the bronze that hurtles on the steel. But ah, your Iliad seems a half pretense, where wits, not heroes, prove their skill in fence, and great Achilles' eloquence doth show, as if no centaur trained him, but Boileau. And again your verse is orderly and more, the waves behind impel the waves before. Monotonously musical they glide, till couplet unto couplet hath replied. But turn to Homer, how his verses sweep! Surge answers surge, and deep doth call on deep. This line in foam and thunder issues forth, spurred by the west or smitten by the north, somber in all its sullen deeps, and all clear at the crest, and foaming to the fall. The next with silver murmur dies away, like tides that falter to Calypso's bay. This time with sordid alchemy and dread, it turns half the glory of her gold to lead. This time in Ronsard's wreath that vanity bit has marred the poet to preserve the wit, who almost left on Addison a stain, whose knife cut cleanest with a poison pain. Yet thou, strange fate, that clings to all of thine, when most a wit dost most a poet shine. In poetry thy Dunciad expires, when wit has shot her momentary fires. Tea is tragedy that watches by the bed, where tawdry yellow strove with dirty red. And men, remembering all, can scarce deny to lay the laurel where thine ashes lie.